In the bustling city of Canopy, there stood a large, busy hospital that was known for its excellent care and dedicated staff. The halls were always filled with the sounds of rushing doctors, beeping machines, and worried families. The hospital was a place of both hope and heartbreak, where miracles happened but where sorrows took place. At the heart of this hospital was a nurse named Clara. Nurse Clara was the head supervisor nurse, known for her warm smile, bright eyes, and gentle touch. She had a beauty that made everyone stop and stare. Her soft, soothing voice could calm even the most frightened patients. The doctors praised her, the nurses adored her, and the families trusted her. To everyone, she was a beacon of kindness in the chaotic hospital environment. But what no one knew was that beneath her sweet exterior lay a darkness that only one person would dare to uncover. Nurse Clara had a terrible secret. Babies who came into the hospital sick never left alive, and pregnant mothers who arrived with hope in their eyes left with empty arms and shattered hearts. Strangely, this only happened during Nurse Clara's shifts. But the hospital staff was behind and blind to the pattern. They refused to believe that someone as beloved as Nurse Clara could ever do anything wrong. Then came Nurse Ada, a bright-eyed young nurse, eager to prove herself. She had just been employed at the hospital and was full of energy and compassion. From her first day, Nurse Ada noticed that something was off. She would see mothers come into the hospital full of joy, ready to welcome their babies into the world, but many of them left in tears. The whispers of grieving parents haunted the hallways, but no one seemed to acknowledge them. When she asked her colleagues about it, they brushed it off, saying that it was just the unfortunate reality of hospital life. But Nurse Ada was not convinced. She was smart, curious, and not afraid to dig deeper. Over the weeks, she began to notice a disturbing pattern. It was always during Nurse Clara's shifts that the babies seemed to get worse. It was always when Nurse Clara, the supervisor, was in charge that the mothers left without their newborns. The realization sent a chill chill down Nurse Ada's spine. She knew she had to find out the truth, but she also knew that it would not be easy. Nurse Clara was adored by everyone, and anyone who spoke against her would be dismissed. One evening, after a long shift, Nurse Ada sat alone in the break room, her thoughts racing. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She decided to confide in her old friend, Dr. Tunde, who worked at another hospital in the city. Picking up her phone, she called him, her voice barely a whisper, as she explained everything she had seen. Ada, this is serious, Dr. Tunde said, his voice grave. If what you are saying is true, then babies' lives are in danger. But you must be careful. If Nurse Clara finds out that you are onto her, she might come after you too. Nurse Ada's heart pounded at the thought, but knew she couldn't turn back now. What should I do? She asked, her voice trembling. We need proof, Dr. Tunde replied. I will help you, but you have to pretend to be her friend. Make her trust you. If you can get close to her, we might be able to catch her red-handed. The plan was risky, but Nurse Ada knew it was the only way. From that moment on, she began to act differently around the supervisor. She smiled more, laughed at her jokes more, and even volunteered to help her with her duties. The supervisor seemed very happy to have a new friend and began to let Nurse Ada into her inner circle. Weeks passed, and Nurse Ada kept up the act, all the while keeping a close eye on Nurse Clara, the supervisor. She watched as Nurse Clara, the supervisor, would disappear into the supply room and come out with a syringe injection, her expressions usually unreadable. The air around her seemed to grow cold whenever she administered treatments to the babies. One night, Nurse Ada followed the supervisor into the nursery, hiding behind a curtain. Her heart pounded as she watched Nurse Clara, the supervisor, inject a newborn with something from a syringe injection that she quickly hid in her pocket afterwards. Moments later, the baby began to cry so bad. Nurse Ada's blood ran cold. It was true. Nurse Clara was hurting the babies, but she needed more proof, something undeniable that could expose the cruel nurse once and for all. Dr. Tunde came up with a plan. "We need to mark one of the syringe injections," he said over the phone. "I will give you a special syringe injection with a tiny sticker on it. Place it in the locker with the others and let's see if she takes the bait." One night, during Nurse Ada's shift, she went straight to the syringe locker, her hands shaking as she placed the marked syringe injection at the very top of the locker. She knew that Nurse Clara would grab the first syringe injection she saw, especially during her rushed shifts. All she had to do now was wait. The following day, Nurse Clara was in a particularly cheerful and happy mood. Her smile brighter than ever as she greeted all the staffs. But there was a cold glint in her eyes that sent shivers down Nurse Ada's spine. Nurse Ada pretended not to notice, forcing a smile on her face as she talked with Nurse Clara. All the while, the feeling of the weight of their secret plan on her shoulders. The moment of truth came when Nurse Clara reached into the locker for a syringe injection. Nurse Ada held her breath, watching from the corner of her eye. Sure enough, Nurse Clara grabbed the marked syringe injection, completely unaware of the trap set for her. Nurse Ada felt a surge of both fear and triumph as she watched Nurse Clara inject a baby who had been admitted with a minor illness. The baby's face squeezed, twisted in pain, and he began to cry so loudly, his condition rapidly deteriorating. As soon as Nurse Clara walked away, Nurse Ada rushed to the bathroom, her hands shaking as she called Dr. Tunde on the phone. "She did it," she whispered urgently. "She used the syringe injection. Call the police now. Nurse Clara used the syringe injection on the baby. Call the police." After the call to Dr. Tunde, minutes felt like hours, and hours stretched into what seemed like days, waiting for the police to arrive. Would the police arrive just in time to apprehend the situation? Or would it be too late with the child at risk of dying? Stay glued for part 2.